I got my Barbara mug out. So you know it's serious. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, hi, welcome back to my channel. Hi! Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, I'm Fat Sajak. And yes, I did sleep in my makeup. That's none of your damn business. I'm gonna show you something fun because the subject matter today is a little heavy. Look at him. It's a little weeble. Oh God, I dropped him. Oh no. Oh no. Well, joke's on me for trying to lighten the mood. Today we're finally going to talk about the Kayla Malik, James Charles, Evan Johnson situation. I'm not going to show you any of the heavier aspects. I think that needs to be respected as its own thing, but I will recap. So we will be talking a little bit about some pretty hefty domestic violence. So if that's a topic that is even like loosely triggering for you, then I recommend that you just go watch something that brings you joy, or come here and find the little weeble that I just dropped. I said a while ago that I wanted to talk about this. As promised, that's what I'm here to do today. However, I didn't want to talk about it until Kayla got to fully talk about it, and I'll explain why in just a second. So, if you're new here, make sure you're subscribed. Oh God, that's rough. So make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Make sure you like the video, blah, blah, blah. Call to action. That's yours. So, this whole situation came to light about a month ago when a creator who seems to be pretty predominantly famous on TikTok, named Kayla Malik, came forward and announced that the relationship she had was a one littered with domestic violence. She came forward in a 2-part series. I didn't know of Kayla before any of this, but I'm old, so don't let that deter you. Don't let this authentic 90s Scream poster in the back fool you into thinking I have any idea about anything that's going on ever, okay? I'll be 40 in less than a year, so like, I don't know anybody, so nobody be offended that I didn't know anybody. I fell asleep with a bag of Taco Doritos last night though. They weren't open yet, but they were in my bed. So if that's any indicator of me as a person, that's fucking pathetic. Kayla came forward in a 2-part series called He Doesn't Love You. And in this series, Kayla pretty thoroughly details, I'm not going to say pretty thoroughly, she very thoroughly details the incidents of domestic violence that she experienced in her relationship with a man named Evan Johnson. Excuse me, the little bitch named Evan Johnson. So, according to Kayla, this started with name calling. He would insult her appearance. Kayla went on to detail that this became a physically abusive relationship wherein Evan had punched her in the face. He had dislocated her jaw at one point, which she did share a video of, and I'm not going to share it with you, but it is deeply upsetting. And when she expresses to him with dislocated jaw that he has just broken her jaw, he says, "Good." And every aspect of her explaining this story and explaining his actions and his follow-up behaviors, he is a textbook abusive person. He is textbook abusive. The mental and emotional manipulation, the physical and emotional abuse. I want to tell you to ignore that noise, but I can't even ignore that noise. There is not an open window in my home. That is such a grating sound at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Just wish it would stop. So Kayla shares in this 2-part series the aftermath, usually, with the exception of, if I remember correctly, with the exception of when he dislocated her jaw and then subsequently continued to hit her. Most of what she shared was the aftermath, was bloody lips, was bruises, was just the aftermath of physical abuse. And it was really, really smart of her to film this. It was really, really smart of her to have documentation of this. And I'll get into why in a little bit. So after Kayla posted this series, which, by the way, speaking your truth on any sort of violence, specifically a domestic violence situation, assault, sexual assault, and whatnot, those are so difficult to come forward with. And Kayla deserves all the praise and all the love for coming forward as boldly and as bravely as she did, because that's hard to do on a small scale. On a big scale, with millions of people listening and watching and invested, and that's incredibly, I can't imagine the bravery that took. Where does James Charles fit into all this? Great question. I'd love to tell you. Yeah, did I just do an Elise Myers? Oh God. She seems like a nice lady. Shortly after these videos came out, a rumor began circulating that Evan Johnson, the abuser of Kayla Malik, was hooking up with James Charles. A creator named Zach Sellers, is that his name? Sellers? Is that his last name? A creator named Zach Sellers went on the Be Better podcast, which, like, I only know minimal things about. Again, elderly. Now that guy and the whole Be Better thing is an entirely different rabbit hole that we are not going down today. Nor are we going down the Zach Sellers rabbit hole, because he basically alleged that he had seen and witnessed to some degree the relationship between James Charles and Evan Johnson, because he was Evan Johnson's, like, close friend. He also claims to be a model, which is weird. If I'm being honest with you, when all of this discourse started, after my last two brain cells came together, I gotta be super, super duper honest. And this is not me being like, well, I called that. But, like, I never trusted that Zach Sellers kid. Everything about him gave me bad vibes. I don't know if it's because of the way he talks or the way he smiles a little while he talks, but he has this sort of, like, I always felt like it was kind of like a tell. Like, the way he spoke was so almost unserious that he never came off as sincere or genuine to me, and gave Clout Goblin vibes, okay? Apparently there are all these allegations against Zach Sellers that he has been trying to hook up with minors or some such nonsense. I saw it in passing. Don't quote me on it. But he never felt like a fully credible source to me, right? Do I think that there might have been some truth in the things that he was saying? Sure. Do I think that he exacerbated a lot of things in order to get his name out there and for recognition? Yeah, I sure do. So this whole time, this rumor started circulating that James Charles was hooking up with Kayla Malik's abuser after they broke up. James wasn't saying a damn thing. Which, okay, sure, whatever. And listen, here's the thing. If you have been around a minute, you'll know. And if you haven't, I'm going to tell you. I despise James Charles. So if you walked into this video thinking you were walking into, like, some sort of unbiased utopia, I'm going to get a sign for the wall that says unbiased utopia, by the way. You're wrong. You're dead ass wrong. Though I don't necessarily believe in cancel culture, nor do I believe it's particularly useful or effective, as opposed to, like, accountability culture, I do think that James Charles should have had his platform taken away. And I think that because he was using his platform, continues to use his platform as a dating website. So that's what got him into trouble in the past. And if you are unaware of James Charles' past, because you either weren't paying attention then, you weren't around then, or you don't care, let me tell you, James Charles got busted sexting minors, teenage boys. He admitted to it, apologized for it, and then deleted the apology. So, Kayla, on May 7th, goes to court against Evan Johnson for her case of domestic violence against him. She won her court case, which is huge, and which is why I say it is so critically important that she had those pictures and videos of the incidents themselves, because so many times, victims of domestic violence are not believed. So many violent offenders, rapists, etc., walk free. So to walk into that courtroom with concrete evidence, with video and photo evidence of this occurring, was not only brave of Kayla, but so smart, because she won her case, and Evan Johnson is currently serving 18 months in jail, which is, you know, we can all, I think, agree is not quite long enough, especially if you've watched Kayla's videos. But it's a start, and she is pursuing further charges in other states. Shortly after she announces that she won her court case, and I mean shortly, like an hour after she announces that she has won, and Evan is in jail, guess who fucking posts their video now? Who does it? Who does it? Can anyone guess? Yes, that's James Charles Dickinson. And what did he have to say? What did he have to say? Let's find out together.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form, and let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him, I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malik behind closed doors.
Okay. Starting out strongly by speaking too fast that you can't hear him, and with all them marbles in his mouth.
I really fucking hope and pray that when this goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through.
It's funny that he posted this an hour after she won her court case, which leads me to believe that this was already pre-filmed, because of course it was.
At the same time, the videos that I'm currently seeing all over my For You page are disturbing to me. This is not TikTok tea and drama for everyone else's entertainment. This is real people dealing with some really serious shit. The conversation has completely shifted focus away from Kayla Malik and how she was brave enough to speak out about what she went through, to how James Charles involved, the downfall, Bye Sister 2.0, where's the apology video? It's distracting.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll agree with you on, for sure. That's absolutely true. This is also something that people who are really good at manipulating other people do, right? This is the whataboutism of it all. Oh, but you're talking about me, but you should be focusing on the issue. You're the problem here. Just a little something for your pocket, the one right here, your breast pocket there. Just put it right there for just a second.
From the actual issue at hand, which is domestic violence. I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. The main one being, this is going to court this week. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling.
Okay. But if you don't support Evan Johnson, then what exactly is going to be affecting a court case about Kayla being on the receiving end of domestic violence from Evan? Again, just another one for the breast pocket.
And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that. I hate that I'm getting online and filming this video right now, but I truthfully have no other choice, because I've also spent the last several weeks trying to get in contact with the only person involved in this that actually matters and needs to hear the truth, and that's Kayla Malik. And she has been unwilling to have a conversation with me. And frankly, I don't fucking blame her.
I don't either. I wouldn't want to have a conversation with you in general. Well, actually, that's not true. I would love to have a conversation with you so I can tell you what a piece of shit you are. Trying to clear the air, trying to clear your name to the victim of domestic violence before they go to court behind closed doors. I don't know. That doesn't really reek of like supporting women either, to be honest with you.
After I watched the laughable interview between Be Better and Zach Sellers, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with me either if I was being fed complete bullshit lies and misinformation from the person whose only source of information is the same man that lied to and abused me for 9 months straight.
Okay, but honestly, we're gonna find out shortly, once we're done listening to Marble Mouth here, that Kayla's real only source of information was the man that abused her as well. So
At this point, I have no choice other than to get online, tell my story, and then prove my story to be true in a court of law. I am suing Zach Sellers and anybody else that thinks it's funny or entertaining to get online and spread defamatory and slanderous lies, misinformation, completely bullshit made up stories for the sake of views, likes, engagement, and galaxies. I'm done.
Oh, sister's done. That's good. That's good. He did spend, what, 1minute and 40 some seconds making it about Kayla, and now he's going to make it about himself. Got it.
This all started at the beginning of 2025 when I reached out to Kayla about her and Evan being in a Valentine's Day video together. She told me she couldn't. She was crashing out because they had just broken up because he was crazy.
Uh-huh. Do go on, James.
I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and make a lighthearted joke asking, could I have him now? And then asked what actually happened between them.
Actually, what you did was ask what happened, then followed it up with, can I have him now? LMFAO. And then you said you were sorry. And then she said that he was abusive. Imagine all the worst things you could do to someone. Hello?
All she told me was that he did awful things to her and that I would find out more in her 30-part TikTok series. She said she was upset that she helped build his platform based off of lies and abuse, and whenever she was healed, she was going to get online and expose him.
Hello? Out of your own mouth, you just said, you just said that she said, which is in writing, he was abusive. Okay? To you, directly. Okay. We're just checking in. She said it. She said the word abusive. Also referred to it as the worst things you can do to someone. Just want to make sure that that's crystal clear.
I'm going to be so honest. I did not take this conversation very seriously. And obviously, now knowing what we all do, I fucking should have. Reading it back now, it is super clear that she was using humor to cope, and that is perfectly fine and valid. But at the time, I genuinely interpreted these messages as a messy breakup.
I have a real issue with this because, like, this was almost someone taking accountability for not reading the room properly, which can happen, sure, over text. But she wasn't even really joking. There were some emojis and some, like, uncomfortable LMAOs in there or whatever, but, like, she literally called it what it was, which was abuse. She literally called it what it was, the worst things you can do to somebody. So almost taking accountability by saying, oh, you know, it's my bad, I didn't take this that seriously. It just looked like a messy breakup when she literally used the word abuse. Don't pretend you give a fuck. This is the thing. This is the thing, right? Is like, there are always going to be people who, like, are too self-involved to care about other people, even their friends and acquaintances or whatever, right? Those people exist. It is what it is. Then just say that. Just say that. Say what you are. I am too self-absorbed to have given a shit. Because, like, sitting around and feigning remorse is so weird and disingenuous, in my opinion.
Maybe he cheated. Maybe they got into a drunken argument that ended badly. I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes.
The worst things you can do to someone. Use your fucking head.
A lot of Kayla's own friends and family have said they had no idea what she was going through. I wish I could go back in time and been there for her, tried to help her. I wish that I would have asked more questions, but frankly, I didn't feel comfortable doing so. First and foremost, she obviously wasn't ready to talk about it yet based on her last message. And secondly, me and Kayla Malik just weren't close friends.
Two things. I don't think she gave any indication here that she didn't really want to talk about it. Even if that was the vibe, and even if you weren't close friends, doesn't one extend a, if you need to talk, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here if you need anything. Wouldn't one extend that to someone that they even mildly care about?
I don't say that to take away from her feelings about this. I don't say that to undermine what she went through. We've only met a couple of times. We collabed in 2023. She guest starred on a podcast with me in 2024, and we hung out at our mutual friend's Halloween party back in October. We've never hung out one-on-one. We've never had a deep conversation. I just really didn't know her that well to be able to interpret these messages and have a better idea of what was actually happening behind closed doors. And I wish more than anything I did, because I should have never gotten involved with this. But I did not know what she was going through.
She literally used the words abuse and the worst thing you can do to someone. Why are you acting like those are abstract terms? Why are you acting like she was so cryptic? This isn't accountability. The comment section on this initially, on this TikTok, we're so like, oh my God, why do I low-key believe him? Oh my God, he didn't stutter once. Of course he didn't. He fucking rehearsed this. In my opinion. In my opinion, this motherfucker has so much experience taking accountability and like feigning interest in the things that he's sorry for. They look like, clearly to me, they look like well-rehearsed and scripted fucking videos. He talks fast, he hits a lot of points, and unless you sit down and really listen to what he's saying, you'll miss all of them. And you will think he low-key ate this one. Like, fuck out of here.
I really fucking hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes. He reached out to me a couple of days later asking me for advice and told me the same exact story that Zach Sellers believed and then repeated on the Be Better podcast, which was that the relationship was toxic, they both said things and did things that they shouldn't have, and a bunch of other stories that genuinely made me believe Evan Johnson was the victim in the situation.
Okay, so which is it? Because, again, as Kayla will point out in the future, she gave him a platform. You became friends with him because of her. The way you describe a friendship with Evan, but an acquaintanceship with Kayla, is fucking wild. Absolutely wild, James. Absolutely wild. Time and place, motherfucker. It's just so interesting. It's so interesting to me, if I'm understanding it correctly, when they hung out in person, this was after this. If I understand the timeline correctly, and we'll go through it in a minute. But if I'm understanding this correctly, this meeting, this hanging out, this convincing James that Evan was actually the victim in the situation occurred after Kayla used the word abuse to describe her relationship with Evan, as well as saying the worst things you can do to a person. And somehow Evan's got you believing he's the victim.
He told me that he moved back to Nashville to go to church and get therapy and try to become a better man. And he seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him. And he knew exactly what to say to relate it back to a situation that I was in that made me have sympathy for him and be on his side. I feel so fucking dumb for ever believing him, but when I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide.
In a similar situation, meaning when you were exposed for sexting minors? Okay, whatever elicits empathy, I guess.
We became closer, we would start FaceTiming, he was very suicidal and depressed, and eventually he told me that he wanted to come out to LA to escape and get his mind off of things for a weekend, so I invited him out. All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies.
Now, listen. It is because I have covered James Charles here for some time that I have no reason to believe that this statement is true. Obviously, I don't know if it is. I wasn't there. But given everything I know about old Jimmy Chuck, I have little to no reason to believe that all they did was order food. All they did was watch movies. Like, yeah, I'm so sure. I am so sure that you and the guy who used to date your acquaintance that you think is super hot, I'm so sure y'all were cozied up at opposite ends of your, what I'm assuming is a giant ass couch watching the Apple fucking Dumpling Gang. I'm so sure that that's what was happening. Absolutely. Y'all weren't hooking up. You made it a blockbuster night. And you know what? That seems airtight to me.
But over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up. There were inconsistencies, and I started to get worried that I might be on the wrong side of things, and that was confirmed as soon as Kayla noticed that he was at my house and I had to lie to her.
You had to, huh? Why'd you lie, James? How come? I mean, it was innocent, right? You guys were just watching Cars, right? Like there was nothing going on, certainly. And since you were completely unaware of the degree to which Evan abused Kayla, even in loose terms, like just saying that he was abusive, you didn't know any of that. So why'd you have to lie to Kayla, James?
I didn't know what to do. I realized then that I was in the middle of a very fucking messy situation that I should have never gotten involved with in the first place, but this man was staying with me and I didn't know how to get out of it. Later on that night, I told Evan straight up I was uncomfortable, I was upset that I had to lie to her, and that we could not hang out any further. He respected that, and the next morning, he flew home. As soon as Evan left LA, I immediately started making myself unavailable to him because I recognized that he was not the man he was telling me he was.
Unavailable for what, James? Did he rent Cars 2? 'Cause if you ask me, Cars 2 is probably the worst one. I think the first one is superior, so I don't think you could do any better than that. Making yourself unavailable to someone is very specific language as well.
But it wasn't until a month later, when Kayla uploaded her video, He Doesn't Love You, that I actually got to sit and watch how much of a monster he is. My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. The horrendous verbal abuse, the violent physical abuse. I was shocked. I was ashamed for not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation. And I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home.
Wow. He really didn't stutter. My mind has changed. At this point, James, feeling embarrassed for being misled by someone who was manipulating him, it's giving Tati Westbrook talking about Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star talking her into making a video about James Charles. You know what I mean? It's giving Tati. You're a grown man who wanted to fuck him, it seems. And instead of putting your acquaintance first and saying, wow, messy breakup, probably shouldn't continue to pursue that, even as a friendship. Even if you just thought it was a messy breakup. That's your friend's ex-boyfriend, who she said in no uncertain terms was a piece of shit.
It was horrifying, and I'm so proud of Kayla for being able to speak up. A couple of days later, I started getting messages on Instagram from Zach Sellers, Evan's best friend, basically warning me that Evan had lied to both of us and telling me that I should cut him off. I didn't see these messages at first until he made a public TikTok accusing me of still supporting Evan behind the scenes, and I messaged him right away because I was confused. His messages genuinely seemed nice. He seemed like he was checking in, warning me to make sure that I was okay and have cut Evan off because he knew that we were both told the same exact lies and stories from Evan. The only reason he even knew I was involved at all was because he was physically with Evan as his best friend, supporting him every single day. It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zach 3 months.
Zach Sellers can be a piece of shit. Evan Johnson can be a piece of shit. James Charles can also be a piece of shit. Just because one of you is a piece of shit doesn't mean all three of you can't be. You know what I mean? Trying to call out Zach Sellers, who is his own piece of shit for his own reasons, some of which are similar to James's, that can be true. And you being a piece of shit during the situation can also still be true. Trying to expose Zach Sellers for something and say that, oh, it only took me 3 days. It took him 3 months. Like, so what? So what? I just think like this whole like trying to take like you have some sort of moral high ground over Zach because it only took me 3 days to realize, fuck you. Fuck you. It took you 3 days after Kayla expressed that he was abusive and committed some of the worst things you can do to somebody against her. Got it.
So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me.
Okay. Well, you didn't need this situation in order to be perceived as a monster, just FYI. You were a piece of shit before this.
What started off as a video of James Charles supporting Evan Johnson behind the scenes snowballed into more videos, more content, and then live streams. Every single night, Zach has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself. And the perfect one came along when Be Better flew him out to Canada for their podcast interview.
Again, Zach Sellers being a piece of shit does not make you less of a piece of shit. Okay? Yes, I do think that Zach Sellers is an opportunistic scumbag. For sure. But the thing is he had a much smaller platform, and this will effectively cancel him. This will effectively end any sort of career he was trying to build because he exposed himself for being a fucking clout goblin. Bing, bang, boom, done.
Aside from the timeline that I just told you guys, everything else in that hour-long episode is complete bullshit. To start rumors about somebody online is one thing. Unfortunately, I know that that comes with the job, but to publicly accuse them of prostitution is ridiculous. There is no proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zach is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. But before I do that, I want to quickly take a second and clear the air on some things that have really set me over the edge. First and foremost, Evan Johnson and I did not in any way, shape, or form have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for sexual favors. Not in person, and certainly not online through a secret OF account where I'm apparently funding his entire life.
Can I just say this is petty?
I hate the way James Charles talks with this hand.
That is absurd. Not that it's anybody's business, but I do have an OF account. I'm a grown adult. I barely use it, but Zach, if you would like to see, I will gladly send you a screenshot of my transaction history. I have nothing to hide, and I have not sent Evan Johnson $1 single.
Some people took issue with this. James openly talking about having an OnlyFans account, which I assume is the transactional portion of the OnlyFans account, meaning the account he uses to pay for whatever.
Zach claims to know all this information to be true because he pressured Evan into getting drunk and telling him what happened on the trip. I don't know if Evan lied to him to make the trip seem more fun and exciting, or if Zachy literally just made this up for funsies. I would like to believe that that isn't the case and that he was manipulated in this situation as well, but he claims to have seen a video on Evan's phone of him having sex with me. Zach, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission.
But you know whose full consent and permission he wouldn't have? Evan Johnson. So he cannot legally post it. While that sounds well and good and that sounds like a gotcha, it's really not.
I've had far worse posted to me online that I didn't consent to. Go right ahead. But you can't because there is no video of something that did not happen. Be Better doesn't even stand by these claims because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zach said. Second, there's a rumor going around that I paid Evan Johnson's bail. This is not true. It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did, and I cannot say anything.
Third, there's a new narrative started by Be Better that I am trying to silence anybody that talks about this issue. First and foremost, this is literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now.
Yeah, it sure is. And didn't you start this entire video with, why is this about me and it's not about Kayla? And yet, I'd say 75% of your TikTok was about you. This could have been an email.
I don't understand how anybody could possibly assume that I'm trying to silence people, but Be Better made a video basically saying that I'm working with YouTube behind the scenes to manipulate their algorithm and get their video hidden. I truthfully wish this was possible. I've been making content for 8 long years now. There are videos on YouTube with 5, 10, 20 million views that if I could have gotten them removed, I would have.
Are most of them just yours?
But Be Better, I know you said you're having your lawyers reach out to YouTube, so YouTube, I give you my full permission to release any communications between myself or my team to you guys about this matter because, again, they don't exist. Zach has also now made a video claiming that my lawyers have reached out to him to threaten him, to silence him, and to offer him hush money. This is not true. Zach, my lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers. I told you I was going to sue you, and this is what the beginning of that process looks like. It really sucks that at this point I am left with no options other than to pursue a case. As for Kayla, I am so fucking sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I genuinely do wish you the absolute best of luck, and I really hope that you get justice for what that man put you through.
Shut the fuck up. You don't care. Again, the fact that this video was pre-filmed, the uncertainty about whether or not she receives justice, tells me this video is pre-filmed, which is fine in and of itself. Like, that's not inherently like a bad thing. Let's just watch Kayla's response. So Kayla waited a bit and she came out with a 3-part response, which we will watch right now.
Well, I'm sure by now everybody knows about the situation with me and James. And everybody has told their side of the story except me. And in my opinion, I was the one fucked over. So it's only fair for me to tell my side of the story, how I was fucked over. And I wanted to wait a little bit, have a little bit more time to just like relish in the fact that I won in court. But the response video was posted an hour after I announced that I won my court case. 1 hour. So
yeah, 1 hour. 1 hour. That's all he could wait to release a completely pre-filmed video. Not like an off-the-cuff response, not like something heartfelt and joyous about her winning her court case. No, his pre-planned, pre-filmed statement couldn't even give her a moment to process the things that have just happened, to celebrate the things that have happened. Couldn't even give her that. Because again, as James himself said, this case is about Kayla. And he wants to complain about how everybody made it about him when he himself made it about him. Bitch, what is wrong with you? Don't. There are so many things, we don't have the time for the list.
I have like all of my bullet points written down next to me, and I hope I could do this all in one part, but everybody told their side, and like I said, in my opinion, I was the one fucked over here. So to start off, I would not consider me and James to be best friends at all. I don't even think I'd consider us close friends. We've collabed a few times. I went over to his house, what was that, like 9 months ago, to help him promote his company on live stream. We would text here and there about certain things, but it was definitely not like we were best friends. I like trying to put this into like it's kind of like that one person that's in your class at school that you're like mutuals with. Y'all are like acquaintances. Like we were acquaintances.
I really love Kayla. I think she seems so sweet. Her mispronouncing the word acquaintances is just, it's cute. I don't know.
But I don't think that excuses anything that happens, in my opinion, but that's the best way to describe it. We definitely were not best friends. We were not that close, but we were acquaintances. We were not best friends in any way. But this all starts almost immediately when I made me and Evan's relationship public on TikTok. So I had posted a video with Evan next to me, and me and James have never DM'd on TikTok. The only previous messages we had on TikTok was us collab posting from when we would film together when I started my Glow Up series, like I was just talking about. And he like sends me my video. I don't know how you do it. Like he sent me the video, and then under it he said, "Girl, who is this?" And I was like, "Oh, this new guy that I met. I think I'm in love. Ha 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 ha." Then a month and a half later, he slides up on another video of me and Evan together. We have not DM'd on TikTok since this. And it's a video of us dancing together at Yosemite, and James slides up and says, "Girl, he's so hot."
Of course he does.
And I'm just like, haha, yeah, whatever, cool. So at that point, that's like the only time that we would text was about him saying how hot Evan was, which is like, whatever. I didn't care. I didn't think anything of it, whatever. So fast forward to October, and me, Evan, Emma, and Brennan all get invited to a birthday party. We get there, and lo and behold, James is there. And Evan and James have not met at this point, obviously. The only thing that's been said is how hot James thinks Evan is, which is like, fine, whatever. So I see James, I say hi to him, and I introduce them to each other. And they're just talking for a fat minute. I don't know what really they were talking about. I wasn't really in the conversation. I was talking to Lila. I was talking to my other friends. I wasn't really in the conversation. And I don't know how accurate this is. I was not listening to the conversation, but Evan did tell me after that James was just saying how Evan was the hottest guy at the bar and he was the hottest guy there. I don't know how true that is. I don't know, but that's what I was told James was saying, is just how hot he was. And once again, I brush it off. Haha, funny, whatever, like, whatever. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, and I can see where she wouldn't, right? Like, I wouldn't care if one of my friends thought my boyfriend was hot. And it doesn't matter if that friend was a straight woman, a bi woman, a gay man, whatever. It doesn't matter. The gender and sexual orientation of the person saying that my boyfriend is hot, that doesn't bother me. I'm sure that there are people that would bother. This would now be the second time that this has been said. Right? And the thing about it is, like, when you find someone super attractive and they're single and you see them all the time, that's what you do, right? Is you say, oh my God, he is so hot. Like, oh, I saw that guy again. He is so hot. He's still so hot. Oh my God, he is hot. Like, you don't do that about your friend's boyfriend. Once is the limit on that, in my opinion. After that, you have to put a cap on that shit. Because after that, it's looking weird. It's looking like you're a little too interested in someone else's boyfriend. This is a pretty, like, out-of-pocket scenario, but there's girl code, you know? And I think some gay men would adhere themselves to a girl code. Not to speak for all gay men, but, like, most of the gay men that I know would adhere themselves to a girl's code, which would mean, like, not, I don't know, trying to hit on their girlfriends' boyfriends. You know what I mean?
You know? So then, 2 months after that, I get another DM from James. On December 17th, I had posted a video of us at Hawaii together, and James, once again, our only DMs is him once again being like, oh my God, he's so beautiful. So literally, the only DMs we have in the past year is him saying how hot my boyfriend is.
And, like, okay, here's the thing too, is, like, I feel like, and this is just my personal experience, my friends who are gay, which is most of my friends, if I'm being honest, my gay friends would be more inclined to tell me that I look beautiful than to continue to go on about how my boyfriend looks. The first time this happened, no issue. The second time, orange flag. The third time, the smoke detector's beeping, okay? It needs batteries. Replace them before I have a panic attack.
Cool, whatever. Just like, what the, like, looking at this shit now, what the fuck? Like, it's not funny. I'm just like, what the fuck? So yeah, like, at this point, the only things I've heard is how hot he thinks my boyfriend is. Cool, whatever. So now from December, it's January. And me, Brennan, Emma, and my boyfriend are in Hawaii. And this was the trip that we ended up breaking up, and all of that shit happened. It's about the third night that we're there. And I don't know if I'm allowed to include this. I'm going to anyways. But we're all sitting on the balcony of our Airbnb talking. And Evan starts saying that James is DMing him on Instagram. And immediately I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you DMing James? Like, immediately I'm just like, fuck no. Like, you're not going to do that. That's weird in my opinion. And at this point, our relationship was basically already over. And even Brennan was like, and Emma were like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you DMing him on Instagram? So we look over at the phone, and Evan sends James a picture on Instagram. So, like, you know how you snap on Snapchat? Like, doing that on Instagram, like sending pictures back and forth. And Evan is like, you should go to Hawaii with us. And James sends back this saying, like, why should I come to Hawaii?
After Kayla posted these 3 videos, by the way, James put in his stories his screenshots, which were noticeably missing from the first video, his conversations with Evan. This one is doctored, not in the way that, like, it's been like transformed, but he's pointing out what the photos are. The thing that I think is interesting, that the photos, you know, they don't show anymore, but he points out what they are, and then he follows that up with the message that said, brother is crazy. Meaning that Evan calling him brother is crazy. And quite honestly, it wouldn't be crazy, in my opinion, if y'all weren't trying to pursue some kind of sexual relationship.
And that, for the first time, is when I was like, what the fuck? And I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they continued to text throughout the night. I was not like caring enough to go through his phone. I was just like, why are you messaging him? And I just, red flags. It was just so fucking weird. Because mind you, at this point, me and James don't text. Like, me and James aren't even texting like that. James is only texting me to say how hot he is. And now he's sending him snaps over Instagram saying, why should I come to Hawaii?
Yeah, that's weird. That would raise a lot of red flags for me personally. Because it's weird as fuck. It's weird as fuck. It's fucking weird. Now, again, James shared those DMs, and unless things were deleted that are not showing up, or something was sent in vanish mode or something, there's nothing particularly egregious after that. But it is, with the background information, still fucking weird.
Like, that's fucking weird. I would only do that if I'm like trying to fuck. Or if I'm trying to flirt, you know? Like, it was just weird. So I don't know if they texted anymore throughout the night. I have no idea. I do know that all of their texts are over Instagram. So fast forward, literally 2 weeks past this, me and Evan have broken up. And literally the day after we break up, James texts me. And he basically is asking me and Evan to be a part of this painted commercial video. And it was supposed to be like me and Evan, and it was like a couple thing, and it was for Valentine's Day. So I respond, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but we just broke up, ha ha ha. So I text James that we have broken up, and basically the first thing he says in response is, can I have him now? Just responds, can I have him now? And then was like, ha ha ha, just kidding, what happened?
Okay, but you know what? Actually, on further reflection, this is up on another level, because even if you were just acquaintances, even if Kayla never uttered the word abuse, even if she never alluded to the worst things you can do to someone, when your friend has a breakup with a long-term boyfriend, why is your first question, well, I guess your second question, can I have him now? I mean, yeah, he asked what happened, but it was overshadowed by the other 3 messages. Like, wouldn't you be like, oh, are you okay? How are we feeling about this breakup? Unless you're a self-absorbed ass.
I then proceed to tell him that, let me actually like read the text like word for word. I'm going to green screen this part, everything else I'm inserting in, but I want to read this like word for word. So yeah, do you want to be in a painted video with your man? I explained that we broke up. I was going to do a 30-part series. And mind you, he is the only person that I told, because this is a day after we officially broke up, he is the only person I told about a, quote, 30-part series that I was going to film about what I had went through. He goes, what? I go, girl, he's fucking crazy. And then there we go. What happened? Can I have him now? Once again, didn't really think much of it, but my senses were a little bit heightened now after the whole Hawaii Instagram DMing situation, but whatever. Then tell him, imagine the worst things a human can do. It would take hours to text, but you'll see the series soon. He then asks again about if I'm actually doing a series, which I'll explain why that has a lot to do with more going on. But he asks again about the series, then says, I'm sorry. And I go, oh, just wait. I gave this man a platform based off his lies and abuse. I'm gonna wait to heal from it and then clock it.
Didn't James say that it didn't seem like Kayla wanted to talk about it? It didn't seem like she wanted to elaborate on it. It actually kind of does. Like, I know she's saying it would take a long time to text and that she's making a series about it and you'll see it then. But, like, the way that she presents that, oh, just wait, I gave him a platform based, this, that, and the other. This doesn't give me, I don't want to talk about it. It would take a long time to text, gives me, maybe give me a call. But it definitely doesn't give me, I don't want to talk about it.
Which I did do. And then he goes, shit, I'm sorry, Kayla. And I said, you're good, thank you. So that was the last time we texted until he flew Evan out to California. But in these, I made it pretty clear that Evan had fucked me over. I brought up abuse, the worst thing a human can do. I mean, I obviously did not go into depth with what I had went through. At this point, like James said in his video, my friends didn't even know, my family didn't even know the full story. Nobody knew the full story.
No, that's true. And like this, it hurts my heart to hear her say this and like give him credit for that, because talking about abuse, talking about domestic violence, talking about having been hit by a partner is hard to do. to anyone, to the most trusted person in your life. And the fact that he used that, whether he realized he was or not, as leverage to be like, well, her friends and family didn't even know. How was I supposed to know? Is gross, in my opinion. Because what she's saying is, I hadn't told anyone yet, so I only vaguely alluded to it here, but like, it wasn't even vague. Like, she was very straight up. It was abuse. Think of the worst things a human can do to you. That's not leverage. People giving you information is not leverage for you to get out of trouble for acting like a fucking asshole.
So basically, obviously, I don't expect him to ask me, oh, well, what happened? And I don't expect him to want to know the full story. I get being uncomfortable doing that, but I 100% think that in these messages, I made it crystal fucking clear that what he put me through was not okay. It was not normal, and it was an abusive relationship.
150%. Also, as Kayla said, they were not close friends. As James said, they were not close friends. So again, using this like, well, her friends and family didn't even know as leverage, when the alternative is her spilling out the details of her being hit, of her jaw being dislocated, of the bite marks that were left in her mouth from being hit in the face, from getting her head smashed into windows, like from being choked until she thought she was gonna die. Like, I mean, I just can't imagine making a video that's like,
I didn't know, and here's why. And here's why I didn't know. Here's why I'm not the bad guy.
no, you were not the person who fucking hurt her physically. But like, you were objectively wrong. Whether or not you and Evan did anything sexually, you're still objectively wrong. And no amount of like well-written, well-rehearsed statements can make James Charles be the person in the right here.
I just think I made that clear. And no, we were not best friends. No, I wouldn't even consider us close, but we were acquaintances, and he knew me more than he knew Evan.
That right there. And James is never going to have the friends he wants and the love of his life that he wants. He's always going to be chasing some fucking buddy else's boyfriend. He is always going to be desperate because he doesn't know how to be a friend. He doesn't know how to be a partner. He doesn't even know how to be a decent human fucking being.
He met Evan through me. I've known James. Like, at the end of the day, he knows me more than he knows Evan. So it's like, with that information, with what I told you, it should have been okay, I understand, and move on. There should not be a second part to this. It should have ended right there, and then none of this shit would have happened. There wouldn't be a drama. There wouldn't be a fucking, like, this wouldn't be a fucking drama if it ended where it should have. And in my opinion, if you have good morals, it would have ended there. I know people in my life that I have, like, am acquaintances with, and they would not do that to me, and I would not do that to them. I would not do this to people that I've even collabed with once. I wouldn't do that to somebody.
I wouldn't do that to somebody I didn't even like. I wouldn't do that to somebody I didn't even like. If someone I knew told me that their partner, their ex-partner, was abusive, use the word abuse, that's all I needed to know. You're immediately unattractive to me, and I have no interest in further pursuing a friendship with you, let alone anything else. And the fact that that didn't click for James Charles says everything you need to know about James Charles.
So, in my opinion, it should have fucking ended there. And there should have been no communication between him and Evan past that point. But obviously that didn't happen. So a week after I send those text messages, me and Evan are broken up, obviously, but we were not on no communication yet. And so this was, I literally, the day before I go live and say that I was in an abusive relationship, this was the day before I officially made it no contact and realized, holy shit, what, like, I wake up basically. So me and Evan have our final call. And this is when Evan says to me, if you tell people what I did to you, that means you never love me. That's when he said all of that on the phone. It was our last ever conversation. But in the beginning of that phone call, while we're talking, he brings up me making a 30-part series. And I immediately am like, how the fuck do you know that? And he quote said a 30-part series. The only fucking person that I texted about making a 30-part series was James. James was the only person I told about making a quote 30-part series. Once again, I don't know how true this is. He was abusive. He was like literally, like we all know by now. But Evan told me that James had sent him screenshots of our messages warning Evan that I was going to make a 30-part series.
And if that's fucking true, which it seems like it is, because that's verbiage, that's very specific verbiage, disgusting.
Once again, don't know how true that is, but it makes fucking sense because on the phone, Evan literally said, so are you going to make that 30-part series about me? And in the text messages, once again, in the messages, I quite literally quote, tune in for the 30-part Who the Fuck Did I Marry series. Like, the fuck? So, allegedly, apparently, from what I was told, is that right after sending those text messages telling James that we broke up, James went and DM'd him on Instagram, sent him those text messages to warn him, and then they started to create a friendship. And obviously, that forms to be true when about a month after all of this, I still have not spoken out publicly. The only thing I've done is go on live and say that I was in an abusive relationship. I was not ready to talk about the details of it. Still healing, okay? But I'm scrolling on Snapchat and I see that Evan had posted a Snapchat in the exact area that James lives in a backyard that looked identical to James's backyard.
You know, I was sitting here thinking, I was listening to this story, and I'm wondering that since after Kayla posted this 3-part video about all of this, James then went on to reveal, like I said, 3 separate screenshots of his DMs with Evan, as if to be some sort of like act of good faith or proof of, I don't know, the tameness of their conversation. But there had to be a conversation leading up to this. I want to see the DMs where y'all arranged for him to come visit you and all that entailed. I want to see those DMs.
And immediately I was like, there's no fucking way. Because this was about a month after I had been told that they were DMing. Why are y'all DMing for a fucking month? The fuck? So I text James and I'll just green screen them again. And mind you, the last time that we texted was me telling him that we broke up, okay? I text him on March 1st saying, this is so random, hope you're doing good. Are you with Evan? He says, what? Your ex Evan?
Skull emoji. I would never.
Doesn't say yes, doesn't say no. I said yes, posted a picture, looked like your backyard. He goes, why would Evan be in my backyard? Later to find out that he was in his backyard and that James had flown him out to California and they spent the entire fucking weekend together. And honestly, if you knew you weren't doing anything wrong, why didn't you just straight up answer my fucking question and say, yeah, he's here, we're friends.
Period. Why are you trying to feign some sort of like allegiance to Kayla when you clearly don't fucking care about her? And I'm sorry, but the whole like taking accountability, I wish I knew now. I wish I knew then what I knew now. Fuck you. If you had bothered to read the messages and believe your acquaintance, it was all right there. It was all right in front of you. Now, yeah, I suppose hindsight is 20/20, but so is
To the victims, I am so sorry.
So I don't know. I don't know, James. And I really would. I would like those screenshots. Let's have those screenshots, James. Let's have the ones where y'all were setting up his little trip to come visit you. I'll wait.
Like, And in James's video, he was saying that, oh, well, he seemed depressed and sad and like he needed a friend. I have a lot to say about that, but first thing, if you're just being there for a friend and that you think he's a good person, why do you feel the need to have to lie to me about it?
Exactly. Why do you feel the need to lie about anything? Especially because James insists that he didn't know anything. What would you have to lie about there, buddy?
Why do you feel the need to have to lie to me about it? If you truly don't think you're doing anything wrong, why did you lie? Why did you lie about it? And then also keep it such a secret. Second off, you're being there for a quote friend that is your ex or your friends, acquaintances, ex-boyfriend that I told you was abusive. Like, what the fuck? It's just like, moral of the story is like, you obviously knew you were doing something fucking wrong if you had to lie to me about it.
Well, that really is the thing about James Charles, right? Is like, he would fuck anything that moved, allegedly. His desperation has never gone away. He is never going to be in some kind of magical loving relationship. He is never going to quell that desperation because this is the way that he treats people in general, and these are the types of men that he pursues. It's fucking pathetic. How can someone have all of the resources in the world, all the money, notoriety, success, and still just be a human dumpster fire? Like, he is such a fucking trash human being, and no matter how hard he tries to pretend like he's sorry or he's taking accountability for something, every word out of his mouth feels disingenuous.
You know? So that entire weekend that they're together, I drive past James's house to see if I could see anything, because I was like, I need fucking proof. Like, I know they're together, but I need proof because I'm so pissed. Obviously don't see anything, and at this point I'm just, I don't know what's going on. I have no proof, but I have a gut feeling that they are together, that they are hanging out. Fast forward another month. Me and James do not text. Nobody ever comes clean about anything. Nobody says anything, nothing. I release my "he doesn't love you" and I talk about everything that he had done to me. And me and James still are not talking. He still does not text me and say, hey, I'm sorry, doesn't try to explain himself, nothing. And in my opinion, that's because he didn't think he'd get caught. He didn't think I'd find out, so he had no reason to tell me firsthand. And that's why this shit really pisses me off. I end up texting James, asking to FaceTime for a segment on my podcast because Jacob had this funny idea that we were going to FaceTime James and James is going to be like, ew, Jacob, and then like hang up. It was supposed to be like this funny bit. I could include screenshots. Literally the next text a month later, after me asking if he had flown my ex-boyfriend out, I literally just say, hey, totally normal conversation. He does not bring it up, nothing. At this point, I don't have proof to back up my theory, so cool, whatever. But yeah, he doesn't say anything, acts like everything is normal. So then it is Coachella weekend, a couple weeks later, and a video is posted exposing James to have flown my ex-boyfriend out to California. The second that this video goes public, James starts to blow up my phone, asking if I'm at Coachella, saying that we need to talk.
Wow. I don't know about you, viewer, but I am utterly surprised. Damage control. That's maybe what he should name his next palette.
I immediately already knew what he was talking about. Are you at Coachella? Yeah, I am. Can I talk to you? I shut it down. I don't want to fucking talk to you. He says, I felt guilty for weeks and I didn't know how to tell you and I owe the truth. I explained it to you from my mouth, not the Zach guy, and then you can feel however you want to. To me, it's quite ironic that you suddenly feel guilty about this the second that it's made public. You know what I mean? Like, you suddenly feel guilty once, like, what do you mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that is the right way to feel. Because genuinely, if you cared about your friend, you would care, or your acquaintance, or your acquaintance, or however the hell she said it. You would care all of the time. And you would speak up. If your friendship or acquaintanceship, or even like from a business standpoint, if you cared about this person as another human being, you would have come clean before it went viral, before it became a whole thing.
What do you mean? I texted him, I've known for a while, but I saw the proof today. I'm just shocked. There's a ton to explain. I'm annoyed with myself for allowing you to find out this way instead of just telling you myself. I say, okay, and says he manipulated me as well, and I fell for it.
This is the shit that makes me angry. I mean, it all makes me angry, but this makes me exceptionally angry. What James Charles is doing here is whether he realizes it or not, and it's really hard for me to believe that he doesn't realize it, he is attaching himself to Kayla. What this says to me is that his thought process, again, whether he realizes it or not, but I find it really hard to believe that he doesn't, is Kayla has experienced this intense mental manipulation and abuse. So if I attach myself to that, she'll understand how I could have been manipulated because she had been manipulated by the same person. He is attaching himself to the very, very real abuse that she suffered. He is attaching himself so that she will empathize. And my friends, that is top tier, top 5 most disgusting fucking things James Charles has ever done, in my opinion.
To when I then reply, I got so pissed off. How did you get to the point for him to manipulate you? I told you he abused me the day we broke up. Then you texted him that day that I told you that. But I'd rather talk to you about this tomorrow. You met him because he was my boyfriend.
Period. And good on her for saying that. Honestly. Good for her for saying it to him. Attaching yourself to someone else's story of abuse so that they will empathize. And again, whether he realized he was doing this or not, that's what this is. That is absolutely abhorrent and fucking disgusting.
After that, James did try to reach out multiple times. He wanted to meet up and talk, and I'll give him credit for that. I can tell he feels guilty. He was blowing me up for days and days after that.
I disagree with this. I won't give him that because everything after he lied to her is damage control. That's all it is. I don't think he cares at all, to be completely honest with you. I think he cares about his public image. I think he has already been pseudo-canceled before, and he has been living on a prayer ever since. He has been living off of the younger people who were not really around for Dramageddon or weren't really paying attention for Dramageddon, or the people that just don't know, or the people who just don't care, and he has been living on a prayer ever since, Bon Jovi style.
Wrote me long paragraphs, just a lot of stuff. I personally decided not to respond. I decided not to meet up with him because, quite frankly, what the fuck do you have to say? And after waiting for him to come out with his response video, I'm honestly happy I didn't meet up with him to hear what he had to say because it clears up nothing for me.
100%. Actually, what it does is verify that he's a piece of shit. So, good on you, James Charles.
I'm just going to end this here. I just think it's a load of bullshit. And watching the apology video quite literally pissed me off even more.
Well, first of all, to KAYLA'S credit, to the audience's credit, who didn't just swallow his video and call it good, it wasn't even really an apology video. Just because he said he was sorry doesn't mean that 80% of the video wasn't just about him, his image, and Zach Sellers. Like, very little of that video was actually about Kayla and feeling apologetic towards Kayla. Just to be clear.
Because I can genuinely appreciate to where you now feel guilty. And I don't think that you still support him. I don't think that at all. I know once I posted the proof, you probably dropped him. I'm not doubting that. It's the fact that my word was not believed. My text messages of me saying that it was abusive, that he did the worst things a human could possibly do, those were taken lightheartedly. And then you went and DM'd him and formed a friendship with my ex-boyfriend, believed everything he was saying about being depressed and suicidal, and you wanted to sit there and be there for him, and you believed everything that came out of his mouth, but not mine?
Period. That, 100%. We see where James's priorities seem to lie.
That's fucking crazy to me. How are you going to sit there and take everything to heart that my ex-boyfriend is saying that you met through me, but not what I'm saying? That makes zero fucking sense. You know what I'm saying? Or do I sound delusional? Am I just like salty? Ew, that was so cringy to say. Or, like, genuinely, do I just sound bitter in this situation? Do I sound bitter, or like, do I have a fucking point? I do not think that if I did not find out through TikTok and if this shit was not made public, I do not think I would have ever found out. I don't think I ever would have received a "I felt guilty for weeks" text. I don't think I don't think I would have gotten that at all. I do not think I would have gotten an apology or he would have owned up to it and texted me about it if it had not been made public.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And he proved that. He did a wonderful job at proving that by lying to Kayla. And then when it all became publicly exposed, that's when he came running with his tail between his legs. And again, I don't even believe that he's sorry. That's how I feel about the situation. I don't feel like he's sorry at all. I don't think he cares. I don't think he gives it a second thought. I think he cares about the optics. I think he cares about his public perception. I think he's gonna sue the shit out of Zach Sellers, which, whatever, who gives a shit. I don't see a world where he actually gives a fuck that what he did hurt Kayla.
And I think there's proof to that because he kept it a secret literally up until he went public with it. And then also it does leave a bad taste in my mouth that, listen, I get it. If your name's being slandered and you want to clock that shit, fucking clock it. I get it. But to do it an hour after I win the court case is fucking crazy, in my opinion. 1 hour after I announced that I win the court case, here's a 10-minute video and all my comments are now flooded with, did you see James's new video?
Imagine that. Imagine you suffer at the hands of a man for 9 months who physically and emotionally abused the fuck out of you. And you come forward with your story, to which millions and millions of people are watching and listening, and how difficult that is to live with, as well as the PTSD and having to move, having your address leaked to your ex, to then actually go to court to have to face that PTSD, to be back in that same town where where a large portion of this abuse happened, to then go to court and surprisingly, and it is surprising in this day and age, surprisingly win your court case. And then 1 hour after you're done and you actually feel lighter and happier and a little bit free and safe because that person is locked up, you are flooded with, did you see James's new video? And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't even like a spur of the moment, now I want to talk about this kind of thing, which even if it was, that would still be wildly inappropriate. But it was something he had already filmed. He didn't have the results of the court case yet. Everything was, I hope Kayla gets justice. I hope this works out in her favor. You had a pre-recorded statement made, and you couldn't have sat on that for a few more hours, a day, maybe a week. You couldn't have sat on that for a hot minute. Nothing says I'm sorry like my priority is to clear my name.
You couldn't even wait till the fucking 8th? Like, that's crazy to me. And I get it. You wanted to clear the air. I get that. But to not even wait 3 hours? Not even an hour and a half? What the fuck? I mean, at that point, damn. Sorry. I'm just like, I'm crashed out. Like, it has been so hard to sit here and not say fucking shit when all of this is going on, and then seeing the apology video, I don't know. I just have a lot of thoughts, and I don't think this is like a pick sides thing. I don't think there's sides in this. It's just a story. I think that he fucked up. James fucked up, and he fucked me over, and it was a shitty thing to do. I do find it interesting, though, that James posted conversation receipts with everybody. Me, a clip from my sister's live stream, like everybody's receipts except for his Instagram DMs with my ex-boyfriend.
Which is why the following that up, James posted those 3 screenshots. But again, he picked screenshots that involved the situations that she mentioned, like the photos, and then he picked some very banal ones that followed. I would love to see the screenshots that were the lead up to Evan's visit to James. I want those screenshots. That's the gist of Kayla's side of the story. I think I will just never be not disgusted by James Charles in some capacity. I just think it's interesting that he has learned next to nothing. And I stumbled upon a video on my FYP this morning that goes to further prove that, and I'd like to share that with you now. I'm not about to pull a Def Noodles on you and be like, this is verified. I haven't even gone to the comments. haven't even verified. I just thought it was really funny.
There's all this James Charles stuff coming out right now, right? And I never planned on sharing this story, but the dude's being very disrespectful. So here's the story of how I rejected James Charles. A few months ago, I posted a singing video. It gets like 10,000 views, but I get this notification that makes me go, what? Mind you, I have 5,000 followers, so how I ended up on James' For You page is beyond me. I go to bed that night not thinking much of it, but then I wake up the next day to see that Mr. Jamie Boy has slid into my DMs. I don't know much about the guy, but at this point, I start remembering all the things that were coming out about him and the things people were trying to cancel him for. So I know he's playing these games, but boy, did you find the wrong guy today, James. 3 days later, I hit him back. We keep it light at first, we're just chatting back and forth. Then he starts asking, oh, are you Mormon? I tell him, oh, I grew up Mormon. I'm from Utah, by the way. I grew up Mormon, but not, active anymore. And I'm just keeping it light because I'm playing with the dude, So I ask him, what's your morning routine? And he sends me this.
I don't know, Talon. I usually don't share my morning routine. It's
Very top secret. Can't be letting that information get out there. However, because you are talented and somewhat handsome, I guess I can divulge that information, but you have to promise you'll keep it a secret, okay?
So we continue talking over the next couple days, and he sends, oh, whoa, your hands look huge, hot, but also scary. I try changing the subject, so I ask him about his music, and he sends me this.
I'm not trying to replace my career and be a full-time musician. I'm not trying to go on tour or do anything like that, at least not right now. But I definitely want my shit heard and to be taken seriously.
Then he asks, how tall I am. I tell him I'm 6'2", and he's like, whoa, perfect height. I'm assuming you're straight. And this is where I knew it was my time to shine. I sent that to James. This is the highlight of the story. This is what I got back from James. No photo back, no message back, that was it. I just left him there. And that is also when I got unfollowed by him, so makes sense.
If it is legit, it further emphasizes the fact that he's never stopped using his DMs as a dating service. And if it's not legit, well, his DMs with Evan kind of serve to prove that he's never stopped using his DMs as a dating service. So either way, par for the course. What are your thoughts on this? What are you thinking? I have a lot of thoughts about this situation, and most of them end with, fuck you, James Charles, so I feel like that would get a little monotonous after a while, but I never get tired of saying it, so fuck you, James Charles. Also, my comment section is not a place to point out that Kayla should have known what kind of person James Charles is. Why was she friends with him in the first place? We're not going to do that in my comment section. So if you came here to do that, that comment will be deleted. I don't even really moderate my comments at all. But if I see any of that in my comment section, it's not even discourse. We're not even going to have that conversation because it's not the point. I'm going to look for the Weeble because I miss him. And I'm going to go. Subscribe or don't. I don't really give a shit.
To the victims, I'm so sorry.
Oh no. Oh God. I can't control the environment around me. I'm sorry. This is hell. This is what hell is. I found it. I hate James Charles.
This is what the beginning of that process looks like. My For You page and Explore page are not dating apps, and I will stop treating them as if they are.
Fuck you, James Charles.